Alright, so throughout 2026, I'm trying to get my completion rate up to at least a 70%, which right now at the start of this challenge, it is at a 39.93%. Yeah, I don't know how this happened. I really don't. But I am determined to increase this. If you haven't seen the video where I talk about this, I will leave it down below for you to check that out. But I didn't really know where I wanted to approach this challenge. Should I do the A to Z challenge? Should I just pick them at random? Should I do it based on the ones I have most completed already? I didn't really know, but then I ultimately decided that I'm going to throw every single game on my trophy list that I don't have completed, including games where I only have the DLC to complete, on a spin wheel, and that is what we're going to do. Alright, so we're over on PSN profiles and we're looking here at my completion rate, which is now 40.37% because I did play Dispatch and get that platinum. Alright, so here is our spinning wheel. Now there's 102 games here, and some of these games are actually ones that I had the platinum for, but I don't have the DLC done, so I had to have that specified. Let's just see, for example, The Last of Us Part 2 DLC. So we know that we have the platinum. We're just going to get the few DLC trophies that I don't have. There are a couple games that are like that. Now also, there's games here that do have DLC that I do not have the DLC added in, as if we don't have the DLC trophies done and we don't have the platinum, we're going to focus on just getting the platinum, and we're going to skip the DLC unless it's like super easy or we happen to get it along the way. We're going to focus on the main game and getting the platinum or the 100% of the base game, and then come back and do the DLC trophies probably next year. Alright, so enough talking. Without further ado, let's spin this wheel and see what the first game that we're going to knock out on this trophy backlog is. Alright, so looks like the first game that we're going to play is Bendy and the Dark Revival. Now, I actually haven't played through this game completely, which is really strange because I love the Bendy series, but I'm super excited to jump in, so let's get right into it. Alright, so we got right into this, and before starting, I only had earned 4 out of the 36 trophies for this game. The ritual for cleaning up the exhibit, welcome to the studio for meeting up with an old friend, armed and ready for finding the first weapon, and banish the darkness for obtaining the banished power. All of these trophies are earned back in August of 2024. But if you know anything about me, I'm not really good at horror games. I get scared very, very easily. So I stopped playing and never really came back to it, even though I am a huge fan of the Bendy series. According to PSN profiles, this game is a 4 out of 10 difficulty and will take you about 10 hours to complete with one playthrough. However, I would highly recommend not following that kind of guideline there. This guide is really, really great, but that specific information I find to be a bit inaccurate. At least for me, this took me about 17 hours to platinum. Now, of course, this could be a skill issue because I did die quite a lot, but there is a lot of backtracking to get all of the collectibles, so it's not super surprising to me if it would take you more than 10 hours to do. It also took me 2 playthroughs because I did one playthrough on hard and one on easy, because you do need to have a playthrough where you do not die at all. Doing this on hard, while it is doable, I would probably not be able to do it because I died like probably 100 times throughout this playthrough. So yeah, I would personally recommend doing at least 2 playthroughs, but of course that is up to you. Now, the very first trophy I got as a part of this trophy backlog series was Time to Reflect for taking some time for yourself. Now, this trophy is earned at the very beginning of the game where you take control of your player character, Audrey. After finishing a drawing, we get up out of our seat and head over to the mirror on the wall, which, if you do interact with this 5 times, it will give you this trophy. Continuing on, you grab a key to leave the office and head towards the elevator. Now, any regular player would head right into the elevator and continue on. However, there is another trophy that we can get here. After collecting 3 bouncy balls and putting them into the bucket just outside of the elevator, you get a surprise, as well as a trophy. Did you see that? Heading into the elevator, we are greeted by the janitor Wilson as he very creepily comes into the elevator with us, which of course has power issues as we are forced down a dark hallway. After completing a puzzle where we need to place different artifacts on their respective pedestals, ink fills the room as we are dragged into the ink world. This is where all the collectible hunting really starts, as before this there wasn't really anything to collect. There are several types of collectibles throughout this game: memos, audio logs, book of illusions, and memories, all of which are scattered throughout the game. We venture through and eventually meet Alice, who seems to want to help us, describing the different ink monsters that wander around until she ultimately leaves. We once again continue through the studio as we are told by Alice to find a gent pipe. This will be our weapon that we will have for the rest of the game. However, of course, this is locked behind a door. And also, this is where the enemies will start spawning. So now, moving at a much lower speed to stay in stealth, we venture around to find the fuse to open the atrium supply door. Going in here, we're able to collect the gen pipe, which will now allow us to attack enemies instead of just avoiding them, which is immediately thrown upon us. And remember, I am playing on hard difficulty, so getting hit like 3 or 4 times will just kill you. Most of this chapter is just opening up the map a little bit more, and eventually you end up face to face with Bendy himself. At first, he's a little bit scared, but agrees to be your friend, where of course then you immediately traumatize him by shocking him with your hand. I mean, what? Why? Then he starts crying. I mean, I almost went in tears myself seeing this. I couldn't believe that we just made this little Bendy cry and run away. Like, honest to God, Audrey, who the hell are you? Who do you think you are? This chapter ends with the introduction of the ink demon, who speaks in the most gurgly voice. Like, it sounds like bro needs to drink a glass of water, clear his throat, and then go get esophagus surgery. Like, have you ever filled your mouth with water and started gurgling or trying to talk with it? That's exactly what this sounds like. It's absolutely disgusting, and every time it happens throughout the game, I literally just cringe and just shiver because it's the most disgusting sounding voice on planet Earth. But anyways, as he's talking to us, we continue through and try to open a door where the ink demon himself tries to kill us. We get the door closed, and this ends chapter 1, giving us the trophy Cartoon Madness. Next up is chapter 2, the Demon's Domain. We get more collectibles, get more upgrades, and eventually find ourselves going into a sort of hidden area that can only be accessed by using the flow ability. Once behind here, we find a toy that gives us the trophy Plaything for locating the toy man's secret. The next trophy that I earned is called Back to the Puddles, which is earned by banishing 25 enemies. This trophy was inevitable, as you will probably end up doing this a lot throughout the game, and I definitely did, which is why I got it so early on. This is the only way to stealthily kill an enemy, so again, you'll probably end up doing this a lot and get this very early on like I did if you are going for this trophy. After this, I headed back up towards Artist Rest, which is full of enemies. I spent a lot of time in this room just trying to get around because there is so many enemies, and in the later game I found that there was even more. Like, there was at least at one point, I swear to God, there was like 20 enemies in this one area, which it's a bit of a big area, but it's not that big, so trying to get around is not that easy. But we find our way being blocked off, and we need to find a new way up. So we find a hoist key. We get a little surprise from the ink demon, who chases us back into the room, but he ultimately leaves again. Using this key, we can move the platform that is being hoisted up and jump onto it using the flow. After getting an upgrade and continuing the other way, the chapter ends, which gives us the trophy Rubber Hose Nightmare. Now into chapter 3, the Eternal Machine. This chapter starts us off with finding the elevator, which once we head towards the ink demon pays us once again another visit, but also once again leaves after us hiding. Now we can head into the elevator, but if you had any hope, you should lose it, because of course the elevator floor drops as we are thrown into a boss fight. This boss fight is unbelievably hard for absolutely no reason. Now, I think this is just because I wasn't hard, because in my easy playthrough it was a lot easier. But again, being on hard, you die in like 3 to 4 hits, and these little spider things are very hard to kill. At least for me, I found it hard to lock onto them. They're very fast, very small, and they just attack you in groups, so it's kind of hard to get around. This took me a lot of tries, but ultimately a big spider creature comes in named the Crawling King, and he will try to attack you. Once again, I did die, and if he kills you, he literally eats you. So yeah, probably try not to die. But I ended up killing him, which gave me the trophy Crawling Killer. Continuing on, we talk to Alice through the speaker, where she tells us to stay put so she can come and find us. But in classic Audrey fashion, we completely ignore her and continue on ourselves. We get to see Bendy once again, but he runs away, of course, since we literally traumatized him last time. And not only do we see Bendy, but we see the one and only Joey Drew, who guides us through a small section as he tells us about the place that we're in. After leaving Joey, we end up in what seems to be a sewer system, where we did some simple puzzling to hopefully reach the surface. But we could, of course, not do this without first defeating a small boss and some of his ink minions. Once we defeated the main boss, I got the trophy next in line for defeating the ruler of the lower realm. But this allowed us to pull a lever to open the final door, which led us upward and to none other than Bendy, who was now okay with us and agreed to help us. This ended Chapter 3 and gave us the trophy Thrills and Spills. Chapter 4 brings us to the big city, where we need to find an ID card to access a locked door. With the help of our dear friend Bendy, we try to find the ID card, however, unfortunately Bendy was unable to find it. After going to the other side of the street, I was able to head upwards, and before entering the 3rd level, I used my slugs at the vending machine to get some snacks, and I got the trophy Fancy Foodie for collecting 100 pieces of food. Then I went up to the 3rd floor where I found the ID card on the bedside table. However, after going to get it, Joey Drew surprises us again and brings us into the original studio from the Bendy and the Ink Machine. I thought this was really awesome and it was so cool to see. It brought back so many memories and just it felt nostalgic to see this because playing the first Bendy and the Ink Machine game was so fun for me. It made me fall in love with this franchise, so being able to see this in this game was super awesome. Joey tells us a story as a projector shows us images, and we find out that Audrey was created by Joey with the ink machine, giving us a little plot twist in the story. I personally was not expecting this. I'm not sure if this was actually shocking to people, but for me, I just wasn't expecting it. We are thrown back into the city and get the ID card to open the door. But what would a Bendy game be if when we opened a locked door, it didn't lead us into a death trap? As the room fills with toxic fumes, we escape through the vent and end up sneaking around to avoid a few enemies. After this, to get some collectibles, I had to do quite a bit of backtracking, which was a little bit annoying at this point. I found there was a ton of backtracking in this game, which, don't get me wrong, it's not a super bad thing. It's not like a huge, gigantic world and map, so it wasn't that bad, but having to learn what areas connect to where was a little bit tricky, but overall it's not too bad. During the backtracking, I did get the trophy, the Demon's Dismay, for surviving 25 Ink Demon attacks. Throughout the game, you're constantly attacked by the Ink Demon every so often, and in order to survive, you need to hide in any of the hiding places around the map. So you need to always be aware of where you are and where the hiding spots are, because you only have about 10 seconds to hide, and if you don't get it, the Ink Demon will come and kill you. Which is very important for your no death run, which may or may not have killed me a few times during that. But after all the backtracking, we go back to where we were, and after feeding a huge ink monster a ink heart, he moves out of the way, where we can pull a lever to open a secret room and get some supplies in the 3rd schematic for the pipe upgrade. Which, spoiler alert, I don't get to do because I didn't even have enough materials to upgrade this, so yeah, we just didn't get to upgrade this 3 times, which we do in the easy playthrough, which we'll see in a little bit. After heading up the stairs, we see an ink monster named Heidi who wants us to play hide and seek. And after we find her, she'll unlock the door for us. She doesn't really hide very far and is very easy to find, so once we do find her, she does open the door and also gives us access to fast traveling, which I didn't really use because the times that I did use it, I just found myself more confused of where I was, because I found like even at that point of the game, it was still confusing on what areas I was in, so I didn't really use that very much. I found it a lot easier to just run throughout the map and find the places I needed to go myself, rather than fast travel and just end up in a random location. But anyways, we go back to the door, which is now open, and we meet Henry, and he tells us about finding a film reel titled The End, and wishes us luck in finding it. After trying to leave Henry, we are taken and wake up on a train with Wilson. This ends Chapter 4 and gives us the trophy Timeless Remains. Finally, we enter Chapter 5, which is the last chapter of the game. This chapter also features a point of no return, so doing a lot of backtracking and ensuring that I got every collectible possible is exactly what I did. But of course, this being the last chapter of the game means we're going to be getting quite a few trophies. This chapter starts off with Wilson showing us his home, and we're given a room to sleep in. After crafting a drink to help us sleep, we drink it, and of course, the second that we do, an evil Alice angel takes us hostage and forces us to complete a puzzle. Now, I did lose basically all my footage of the next couple trophies that we're going to talk about. However, I do have the little bit of snippets that the PlayStation records when you do get a trophy. Once I completed this, I got the trophy Socialite for being a first-time party pooper. After this, I got the trophy The Ink Provides for maximizing my dark potential, aka upgrading my character completely. I also got the trophy Written in Ink for collecting all of the memos. Now it is time for the backtracking, as there are 10 the Meatlies to find throughout the map. This is associated with a trophy that we will get in a little bit. While doing this, I got the trophy Insane Reader for collecting all of the Book of Illusions, and finally the trophy for finding all of the Meatlies called Familiar Face. After this, there was only 2 other collectible trophies to get before we finished the game, and that was Self-Discovery for collecting all memories, and the Well of Voices for collecting all audio logs. After this, we were good to continue past the point of no return. So to make a long story short, Wilson tries to kill us to combine us with the invention that he's made. However, we kill him instead, and he merges with the invention, which in turn tries to kill us, so we kill it instead. But just after this, Audrey is merged with the Ink Demon. Audrey will eventually take control of the new beast Bendy, and after smashing through walls and fending off enemies, we finally reach the movie reel titled The End and reset this cycle. This finishes Chapter 5 and gives us the following trophies. To the Darkest Reaches for completing Chapter 5, Studio Starter for completing the game on Easy, Studio Scrapper for completing the game on Normal, Studio Breaker for completing the game on Hard, and the Master's Pen for completing the main story. Since we finished the game on Hard, all of these difficult base trophies do stack, which is really nice because now we don't actually have to play the game 3 separate times. And after the first playthrough, I was left with 7 more trophies to get the platinum. A trophy that I actually missed during my hard playthrough was a Butcher Decision for completing the game while surviving the Slicer. This is in reference to the 4th member of the Butcher Gang, Carly the Ghost, who is trapped in a crate in the Chapter 2 area. I did see this crate during my first playthrough, but I decided not to open it. If you do this, you will be jump scared constantly throughout the game. Now looking back, I should have just done this on my easy playthrough, but instead I decided to load in just before the point of no return in my hard playthrough, and then I went and opened the crate and then finished the game. I found this kind of just wasted a bit of time because I could have just done this in my easy playthrough, but whatever, I did get it done and got that trophy. Now we go on to my easy playthrough. While having to focus on the other trophies, I had to make sure that I did not die even once, which, spoiler alert, I died many times. But when you do die, you just have to load a previous save, or even the auto save is fine. As long as you just don't continue off from where you respawn, you'll be good. The very first trophy I got was Avid Worker for showing too much dedication. Getting this trophy is extremely easy, the most easy one in the game, as it requires you to do literally nothing. You simply just sit there. You load up the game, and the first thing you can do with your character, Audrey, is get up from your seat. So simply don't for about 20 minutes, and this trophy will pop. It also rolls the credits, so it's kind of like a secret ending, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, I basically did a speedrun of this game up until Chapter 4. The only thing that I really focused on getting was the schematics for the gin pipe, because again, I did still need to get that trophy. But the next trophy that I did get was in Chapter 4, and that was It Stinks, which the description says you should just really relax. This basically gives you zero context as to what to actually do to get this trophy. So after looking at the guide, I seen that once you get to Chapter 4, Bendy will try to help you find an ID card, and by pointing at different things on the street. Now after you go through the building to go to the other street, Bendy will point at a door, which after knocking on it 5 times, the person inside will talk to you and the trophy will pop. Next up was Gent's Finest for creating the ultimate weapon for upgrading the gent pipe 3 times. This isn't really difficult to do, it's just a bit of backtracking. But the thing that is hard about this is actually getting the materials to actually upgrade the gent pipe. When you're playing on hard, you need like quadruple the amount of resources to upgrade the gem pipe, so that's why I didn't do it in my hard playthrough, and I even found it a little bit difficult finding what I needed in the easy playthrough, and that was because I needed to get one more battery, and I ended up needing to use them and finding more, and then I just needed to find one more, which I did end up getting, which once I did upgrade it, I got the trophy. The next trophy I needed is also in relation to the gem pipe, and that is Heavy Hitter for defeating 25 enemies with the shock pipe. In order to get the shock pipe, you need to upgrade the gem pipe twice. This allows you to charge the weapon with electricity and cause more damage to enemies. This wasn't too difficult, but again, this was around the same time that I was looking for batteries to upgrade, so after using all of the batteries, I went back to the Crawler King boss area where there is a spot in a wall that you can constantly recharge your gem pipe. I just kept killing the smaller spiders until it popped. The final trophy that I got before completing this playthrough was Big Spender for spending 500 slugs. This may seem easy to do, however, by the time I was at the end of the game, I think I only spent like 250-ish slugs, like maybe a little bit more than that, but I combed every area as I was playing through this game to get slugs because I knew I needed this trophy, and I still did not have nearly enough spent by the time I was almost done the game. So I did have to use my giant courage to open safe and sound machines, which only gave me like 5 to 25 slugs each time I opened this. However, I eventually did spend the 500 slugs and got the trophy. And now, last but not least, is the trophy I got for completing the game without dying, called Ink Master. And then, of course, following that, I got the platinum Little Devil Darling. This game is honestly a great addition to the Bendy series, and I wish I had played this when it first came out, or at least when I first started playing it back in August of 2024. But regardless, I'm super happy I did get this platinum, as it was a very satisfying platinum to get. But anyways, guys, this completes the very first platinum trophy towards the platinum backlog series. So let's go see what my completion rate is now. Now, I want to remind you that I did actually get the Dispatch Platinum between starting this series and starting the Bendy. So there technically is 2 games towards this completion rate. However, I'm not counting any new games that I'm adding on. So any new games that I do play are not part of the Trophy Backlog series because this is a back. We're not considering any new games that we do play. However, again, we did start with a 39.93%, and now we're at 41.04%. Thinking about this now, of course, adding in new games will make the completion rate go down if I don't get the platinum, but I don't plan on playing any new games that I don't plan on getting the platinum for, so we'll technically probably be working on 2 platinums at a time. But seeing this percentage only going up just a little bit kind of makes me a bit nervous for my 70% goal by the end of the year, but I am determined to get at least as close as I possibly can to that 70%. But alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see me play these games live, head over to Twitch. I'll leave a link in the description below. Or if you want to watch this as a video, I'll also leave my gameplay channel down in the description for you guys to go check out as well. We will be continuing the Trophy Backlog series, which only the wheel can tell us which game will be next. But again guys, if you guys did enjoy the video, consider leaving a like, subscribe to the channel for more PlayStation and Trophy content. And with that being said, again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.